Good morning, friends. This is Carlos Caloy Conde again in this Open Talk episode. Today, we're going to be talking about artists and protests. We are going to take off from this whole discussion about what happened to Joey Ayala, the musician from Davao. I'm going to be talking a little bit about that. But before that, I would like to introduce to you my guest this morning. He is Bart Guingona, an artist, a stage actor, a leader of the Philippine theater. He runs and also the artistic director of the Necessary Theater. Good morning, Bart. Thank you
Hi,
for
hi,
coming.
hi, Caloy. It's great to be here.
Yeah.
To be
Can you
talking about.
tell our viewers a little bit about what this Necessary Theater is all about?
Well, we call ourselves the Necessary Theater because we'd like to do work that we think are either intellectually or emotionally necessary. Uh, we believe that theater should be able to advance an agenda. The agenda is humanity, right? So we choose to do works that challenge either the intellectual capacity of the audience or our own intellectual
Hmm.
capacities.
Sounds like
So,
this is a Brechtian kind of thing that you have.
well, apart from Brechtian, there are other works that are not just. It's not just Bertolt Brecht who advances this kind of thought. There's Peter Brooks, there's Peter Sellars, there's all these other. Um, I hate I'd hate to think they were highfalutin, but they're highly intellectual, theater practitioners or former theater practitioners who advance the idea that theater can be and should be transformative.
Can you
That's
tell me a little bit more about your, yung recent productions ninyo and when are you still showing? Are you still having them or?
uh, yeah. I last May we did a production of Via Dolorosa by David Hare, the famous British playwright. Um, it's about the Israel-Palestinian conflict, and it's a monologue in which the writer visits Israel for the first time, meets artists, politicians, academics, and so on and so forth, uh, and turns it into a monologue. I played 16 characters in that
Wow.
one particular, yeah, in that piece, and it played to very, I I'd hate to sound self-aggrandizing, but it played to great acclaim, and there's going to be a rerun, I think, in October,
Oh, wow.
because yeah, someone who had seen it said, you know what, you need to move this from Makati, because it was held in um, in why not
Mm-hmm.
in Carmen Plaza. He said you have to move this to Quezon City because there's an academic
Yeah.
community there that should see this. So I may be moving it to Arete in
Yeah.
Ateneo in
Wow, that's I will make sure to watch that when it goes on again. It
October.
sounds to me like what you're doing, your productions, and your background basically in projects that raise a certain level of awareness and consciousness is kind of a fit for this discussion that we're having today. So
Right.
just so our viewers can know a little bit about why we're doing this. So this is the background of all of this is Joey Ayala, the musician from Davao City, who was in the news recently because during a concert last week in Davao, apparently a lot of people online bashed him, telling him to now, you better retire now already because you've gotten old and things like that. Nothing about his politics, but actually, when I read that, I said something like, well, if you're going to bash Joey Ayala, bash him about his politics. not because he's
Right.
grown old, not because he's become
Right.
this forgotten or semi-forgotten cultural icon. And it got me thinking whether what's happening with him. I had thought all along na parang nagbago na siya ever since he endorsed Duterte in 2016, but apparently he hasn't. And in fact, he doubled down on the whole idea of backing Duterte last week during a podcast with a friend of his, and saying some really, for lack of a better word, shitty things about Duterte. And it struck me as really offensive, if I
Mhm.
may, and it struck me as really it just kind of uh, parang na parang na lumabas uli yung parang feeling of betrayal ko, or I'm sure marami din, about dun sa pag-endorse niya kay
Right.
Duterte, even with the knowledge that Mr. Duterte had been responsible for many of these killings. So I'm gonna ask you, Bart, do you think it's fair to cancel or to bash Joey Ayala?
Okay. Let me first say that I know Joey. I have great esteem for him. As a matter of fact, I think that he has contributed. He has made some invaluable contributions to Philippine culture, to Philippine music. He is supremely intelligent. He is supremely talented, which is why, like you, I am disappointed that that he has subsumed his moral compass to a kind of irrational idolatry of someone who has proven to be a true criminal. And I'm speaking of Duterte, of course, who is now in the ICC. So I am, like you, very disappointed. Um, and in preparation for this, I was looking up his endorsement of, which you posted, by the way, the his endorsement of Duterte in 2016. And I said, oh, okay, he has put down in words exactly why uh, people like him and the Davaoenos idolize Duterte. Um, and really, you can summarize it in one word. They think that Duterte is a disruptor,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I can understand where that's coming from. It comes from a cynicism of a system that has not benefited anyone for generations, and uh, people thinking that a disruptor is needed to change the order of things. However, I also think that not everything needs to be disrupted. Uh, Things just need to get fixed.
Yeah,
you know um there are laws that need to be enforced properly. There are schemes by which we should be able to combat corruption. I mean, why do you have to do it at the expense of human life?
exactly.
That for me is, I mean, you've lost your moral compass once that happens. And for an artist, our first our first loyalty as artists is to the truth and to humanity. That's what we're here for. To lose your humanity in that way, through that kind of cynicism, makes you, so to get back to your original question, is it fair to cancel him? You know what, frankly, in many ways, yes, as an artist, because I mean, uh, as an artist, he has untold influence on on many hearts and minds. So if you just let him go his merry way without making making known what you feel about it, then you are party to his,
Yes.
to his
Intellectually complicit ka na rin.
of course, of
Yeah.
course.
So actually, let me backtrack a little bit on this one, Bart, because my thinking about this is that it's not so much that Joey Ayala is pro Duterte. There are a lot of other artists who are pro
That's
Duterte,
right.
and they're not being singled out like that. The
Right.
reason why I'm so upset toward Joey Ayala is because he built his artistic life, his career on the back of, social justice, on the
That's right.
back of a promise to alleviate the suffering of the indigenous peoples around the country, particularly in Mindanao, in region, in the Davao region where he's from. So that kind of covenant that he made with the audience, with the Filipino public, the moment he, launched all of these really great albums, is really. I mean, I cannot just set that aside. I mean, you cannot
Yes.
just say from one moment you want to fix the world, solve the problems of the indigenous peoples, and then the next you're going to support somebody, endorse somebody who is part of the problem.
Tama ka. Nakaka-disappoint talaga, di ba? Na nakakasama ng loob na na doon siya nabagsak, no? Kasi napaka ano napaka he's like I said, he's a man of supreme intelligence. So, to fall to that side of the argument just is really disappointing. It really is.
And it's
Sa-
not so much Bart na he has supreme intelligence. I think from the get-go when he started in the industry, and Joey Ayala and the Bagong Lumad, I mean the whole shtick was it's not only using indigenous culture to kind of prop yourself up as an artist, but also I
Right,
think he had a genuine kind of appreciation and empathy towards the people that were affected by by the policies of the government against indigenous peoples.
right,
Even I mean, you have your roots also in Mindanao,
right,
where a lot of indigenous peoples are being victimized, and so this really resonates among a lot of us from the
right.
south.
That's
and
right.
and so it's not just that. I was gonna say hindi lang ito usapin ng like somebody from somebody who rose to prominence because of his talent, just talent, and then
Mm.
naging pro Duterte siya. Baka siguro may magbabas sa kanya, but not, I don't think that sense of betrayal will be there as much
Right.
as we're feeling it now. So uh, ang ano ko dito, ang tanong ko dito sa iyo, Bart, as having someone who's known him and someone who's really steeped in the or very familiar with with all the I would say the issues surrounding art and politics, and whether you being a stage actor yourself and who is now involved in these projects that try to elevate awareness and discourse on dissent, on social justice, and all of that. Where do you think people should situate the likes of Joey Ayala right now after cast their lot with somebody like Duterte? Can they recover from this?
You
Because
know,
before you answer, because my my kind of framework here is that it's fine if in 2016 you supported Duterte because taga dun ka, kababayan mo siya. And I have a lot of friends from the left, for instance, who supported Duterte. But practically all of them, or at least most of them now, have changed their position on him. They saw how bad he was. But apparently Joy Ayala didn't. So can he
yeah.
recover from this? Where should we situate him?
Ay, hindi ko nga alam kung willful yung kanyang tawag niyan yung kanyang blind side, no? Kung hi- kasi it's hard not to see after 6 years of Duterte, it's hard not to see how egregious
Yeah.
Duterte was. So I'm trying to figure out why would you stick to your pride ba yun? Ano ba yun? Ano ang dahilan kung bakit meron ka pang blinders na sinusuot pa rin hanggang ngayon, no? Um, like I said, it's just really, really disappointing. Uh, na naiisip ko si Dean Cain sa Amerika
Yeah.
na sumali sa ICE. It's like, oh my God. Parang sige, bury your career. Why not? 'Di ba?
Yeah.
Pucha, kasi as an artist, how can you be blind?
Or
Why should
morally
you?
dissonant.
Yes. Yes, it's so weird. It's so weird na all this evidence of the egregiousness of the Duterte years are there for all to see. And yet you choose to wear your blinders. That's pretty sad.
Um,
I- I-
on the other
by the
hand,
way,
huh?
by the way, I'm kind of well, not worried really, but if Joey gets to see this, he might cancel me.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, well,
well, I mean, I'd be sorry if that were to happen, but again, my thinking is that you need to take a stand, and if
yes, that's right.
in the
I
face
mean,
of such injustice,
it's not as if I don't get bashed on a daily basis on Twitter anyway. I still call it Twitter. I get bashed on a daily basis. Hoy, kalbo, or whatever, because I'm staunchly anti-Duterte, and I have to mention also anti-BBM. So,
yeah,
heck,
yeah.
you know.
No, this raises a question for me, Bart. You know, a part of me is like, are we being fair to Joey and all the others who've cast their lot with Duterte? I mean, for us to judge them because of that one singular decision to uh, to support this monster. Okay, we see the problem there, right? Our moral compass is okay. Theirs probably not so.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of judgment there. Ang so ang tanong ko is that would this kind of necessarily create kind of a chilling effect among artists na uh, not so much na from now on hindi na sila magsusuporta sa isang politiko na masamang politiko, but also baka in the future hindi na rin sila susuporta sa mga leaders or politics na makakatulong naman sa bayan na maayos naman in terms of anong mo doon, anong tingin mo doon?
Um, Alam mo, let's just put it this way. Uh, you cannot be an artist without being on the side of humanity. You can't. That's
Yeah,
just that's just the definition of what you are. You seek the truth in order to enlighten people, in order to enhance the human experience, the humanity of people. So I don't get, there are a lot of artists there who will choose to stay apolitical. Why? Because they're afraid that they will alienate a certain segment of the of the audience, right? I know there are, when we were campaigning before, we were asking some people, and they said no, 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 they didn't want to because they were afraid of alienating one segment of society. Well, yeah, I understand that, kabuhayan yan eh,
mm-hmm.
no? Pero compromised ka as an artist
Mm-hmm.
kasi hindi buo ang loob mo sa pagtulong sa humanity. Alam mo 'yon?
Yeah,
So medyo I wouldn't even say there's anything wrong with thinking about your own commercial interests as an artist, but I would say that don't compromise your principles um, for commerce. That's
yeah,
one. Or for any other reason, as a matter of fact. In the case of Joey, it seems to me like some kind of idolatry. I can't call it anything else because it just doesn't make any rational sense, no?
Mhm.
So, uh, compromise siya as far as
Yeah.
I'm concerned,
Pero
'di
yun na
ba?
nga eh. There's just no way. I mean, if you're an artist, I'm not an artist. I don't have any creative side of me. But I believe that the artist and his work or her work should reflect the times, should reflect the context, the environment that he is creating or she is creating that art, right?
Of course.
Uh, because if not, then that raises whole lot of question, and even in fact, that even raises the whole question of arts for art's sake, art for art's sake. It's kind of this whole uh, discourse,
Yeah.
right? Centuries old discourse. I mean,
Yes, yes. But even that whole art for art's sake, all art is a reflection of its time.
yeah,
Even K-pop, even J-pop, even P-pop, whatever, no? They're all a reflection of what is going on in your environment. Um, Even if you say, that's just popular music, that's just that says something also about the environment in which you live.
mm-hmm,
We don't live in a vacuum. No one lives in a vacuum. So to say that gagawin ko ito dahil gusto ko lang,
mm-hmm,
reality mo rin yun eh.
mm-hmm,
It's a reality that you have that you are imparting to others. So it's not in a vacuum. 'Di ba? So even if you say I'm just doing something decorative, that's still a truth.
yeah, yeah,
What you find decorative is still an expression of your truth. So I don't believe in that art for art's sake because there's really no such thing.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Art, like science, is an expression of the living human being.
yeah,
And once you express yourself, you are imparting a truth.
yeah.
Ganun lang naman yun eh.
Ang ano ko
Um,
nga tawag dito yung tipong ah, yung mga artist na talagang seryoso sa craft nila should take inspiration from their environment, from what's
of
happening
course, of
around
course.
them. I'm reminded, Bart, of even the likes of Jose Rizal, Amado Hernandez, Lino Broca, Ishmael
Right.
Bernal, and one of your probably theater great, Ben Cervantes. I mean, these people
Yes.
took a stand for not so much for their politics, but they took a stand for what is right. Right?
Yes, for what is right, for what is true, and what is salient to the times. No, you can't just be an innocent bystander, um, because you're part of the humanity that you choose to serve as an artist.
Yeah. Ang ano ko nga
So
dito kaya it really rankles as far as I'm concerned na um, Joey Ayala did these things
yeah,
when in fact his whole artistic life is defined by a certain social consciousness that made us love him to begin with.
yeah.
um, but again, going back to the question of art for art's sake, and you've said that you don't believe in that. Well, I don't believe in that either. But you'd be surprised at how many artists, budding artists now, whose work you can see. I mean, this is not judgment based on what I see, for instance, in visual art, whose work is kind of bereft of any social consciousness or what's going on around them. But on the other hand, there's also a lot of them who do that. So how do you then bridge that?
Ang sa akin lang, no, ang kapag willful ang iyong denial of the social realities doon sa work mo, willfully ignoring the social realities around you, that says something also about you,
Hmm.
your truth, and the environment in which you live.
Oh yeah.
Yung realidad na tinatakbuhan mo, alam mo 'yon?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Reality din yun eh.
yeah,
Di ba?
yeah. That's
Yung tumatakbo ka from that reality, that's your truth. And it therefore says something about the times in which people, artists like that, are produced. I
yeah.
mean, we're going really deep into this whole discussion, but I mean, the pre-Raphaelites, for example, at the end of the 19th century, the pre-Raphaelites who decided, oh, we're going to hark back to the beauty of the Renaissance,
Renaissance, yeah,
yeah, the Renaissance paintings and so on and so forth, and they were beautiful.
yeah.
They were pretty pictures. They were etc. But it said something about the times. That
Or the
was the
divide.
industrial. Yes, that was the industrial revolution when when life could be really ugly.
Yeah.
The whole idea of this movement saying, no, let's just go for what is pretty and beautiful says something about the times.
Yes.
It
Indeed.
produced that kind of, philosophy, artistic philosophy, di ba?
Yeah.
So it did not come out of a vacuum,
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
other words.
I mean, yeah, you're right. We probably are going too deep into this whole discussion about art for art's
Yeah.
sake. But a little reminder, a small reminder for our viewers here that the reason why we're excoriating Joey Ayala here is because, just a reminder, under the Duterte administration, more than 30,000 were estimated to have been killed in the drug war. A lot more were attacked, harassed, activists were jailed, enforced, forcibly disappeared. The whole human rights catastrophe in the Philippines under the Duterte regime was well, catastrophic. So this is why we're talking about this. This is why, I mean, we're not blaming obviously Joey Ayala for all of this, right?
Yeah, but Kaloy, you have to remember it's not even just the human rights, it's the corruption.
Oh yeah,
I
oh yeah,
mean, he ran on the platform that he will eradicate corruption, and it turns out, I mean, formally, for God's sake, it turned out to be one of the most corrupt administrations ever. So it's really it's it's disgusting when someone defends the indefensible. For me, huh?
yeah.
I mean, how can you defend that? How? And then people say, well, there's still no proof. Yeah, right.
Yeah. But if you don't look, if you choose not to look, uh,
Exactly. If you decide to, keep your blinders on and decide to be willfully blind, nasa sayo na yan.
nasa na
Pero
yan. Yeah.
pero please kung meron kang boses at saka impluwensya, huwag naman gamitin yung para idepensa yung indefensible.
Indefensible. Yeah.
Kasi
Wow.
naman,
Bart, bilang panghuli nating segment dito, baka, as we wrap this up, meron ka pang ibang pwede, do you have other thoughts, ideas, call that you'd like to make before we end this about this issue, about artists and dissent and protest and social good?
okay, artists, I always say this, the the service of arts to humanity is that it purports to tell the truth, so that we come out better human beings after seeing a piece of art, right? Um, and the duty of the artist is uh, to stay as close as possible and to express as much as possible the truth. That's the most important thing, no? Um, so you have a voice. Use your voice to do good for humanity. I'm asking all artists because because you're up there. You're expressing yourself for a for an audience, for a crowd of people who, whether we like it or not, will walk away altered forever by what you say. So, gamitin nyo sa mabuting paraan. Sana. Yun lang ang ang hinihingi ko sa mga manlilikha, no, ng sining.
Well, thank you so much for that, Bart. This has been a really, really good discussion about this. Again, you know, just to underscore the point that all of this has nothing personal against Joey Ayala. That this all comes off the, comes off Mr. Ayala's actions in 2016 and even until last week. We continue to, regardless of what we've said here and our feelings about these developments, a lot of us are still in awe of his artistry, of his work before. But the point that Bart and I are making is that that's not an excuse to do what Joey Ayala did in the face of all of this egregiousness that we've seen since 2016. Again, thank you so much, Bart, for this. Bart Guingona, theater actor, theater luminary, president, and artistic director of the Necessary Theater. And I look forward to seeing your production, Bart, soon. And good luck with your future endeavors.
Thank you so much. It's been a great pleasure. I mean, uh, the discussion strayed into the philosophy of art, but that's a good thing too, right?
Yeah, yeah. I don't think you can. I don't think you can. Tackle this issue without straying into that. I think this is all integral part of that, and that's what makes this really interesting. So yeah, thank you again, Bart.